Can you give us any concrete examples? Because $100 million in grants, 2,000 U.S. outlets costing $128 million by your account in ad revenue. Can you give us any concrete examples how the GEC funding directly hit American outlets' speech or revenue, other than the ones you already have?
Was the lawsuit against the State Department from the Federalist and Daily Wire indicates their businesses the viability was dramatically damaged after GDI and NewsGuard ended up targeting them. And it's obvious why, because if all of the advertisers say, don't put your ads on our websites, it saps a revenue stream. And let's also note, by the way, that beyond NewsGuard and GDI, there was funding for dozens of other organizations that were involved in things like misdis and malinformation detection and such. And all of this was fueling an ecosystem that existed ultimately to clamp down on speech, whether from individuals or outlets. And that's US tax dollars ultimately funding the silencing of ourselves, and that's un-American.
Yeah, U.S. tax dollars through grant programs to create a censorship empire on American citizens under the guise of this global engagement center, which was meant to, look, I agree with Ms. Jankowicz. We want to be dealing with China, Russia, Iran, foreign adversaries, but that's not what this was. Mr. Taibbi, your Twitter files analyzed 3.8 billion U.S. tweets, and the metrics exposed GEC's ties to the Election Integrity Project, which flagged 22 million election posts in 2020. Can you highlight the information you found that exposes GEC's efforts to push platforms to censor Americans, and how many accounts were affected?
Certainly. First, I'd like to respond to something that Ms. Jankowicz said.
Feel free.
She mentioned that Yoel Roth, who is the head of trust and safety at Twitter, threw some shade at GEC. And indeed, that was actually a chief narrative that we found in the Twitter files, which was that Twitter's chief content moderation officers had too many government officials trying to call them on the phone. And they did not want to add another group, particularly one that they felt was incompetent and didn't understand what they were doing, to the trust tree. Ultimately, however, after a year of very fevered interactions within the company, they were forced to allow GEC into their weekly or monthly discussions with the government, what they called the industry meetings. And there is an email that we found in the Twitter